And see what's going on.
I'd like to call to order the City of Riverbank Special Planning Commission meeting dated Tuesday, April 5th at 6 p.m. And could I get roll call, please?
Chair Villepadua,
Yes. Oh, here.
Vice Chair McKinney,
Here.
Commissioner King,
Here.
and Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
And Commissioner Tobacco is absent.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move over to the conflict of interest. Any planning commissioner, authority member, and staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered or to be declare their conflict. Do we have any? None? Okay, moving on to item 1, the public comments. There's no action to be taken on this. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person, and each person may speak once during this time. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented under the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. For record purposes, state your name and city of residence. Please address the entire Planning Commission Board. Do we have any public comments? Okay, none. We're moving on to item 2, the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are to be acted upon by a single action of the Planning Commission unless otherwise requested by an individual Planning Commissioner member for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by a roll call vote. We are going to move the item 2.C over to the following commission meeting. Okay, so we'll be voting on item 2.A, which is the posting of the agenda, and item 2.B, approval of the agenda.
Move for approval.
I second it.
Chair Villepadua,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKinney,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're moving on to item 3, public notice. And this is a continued item, item 3.1, which is the Mark Wilbur / Diamond Bar West proposal for architectural and site plan review application number 01-2016. And Donna, if you can give us, I know you've given us the product description, but a little summary on that?
Sure. You'd like me to run through the PowerPoint again?
I know we had 2 commissioners that were not here
Yes.
that day, so.
Okay.
Can.
All right. The applicant is requesting the architectural and site plan review of single-family dwelling units for 58 approved lots in the Diamond Bar West subdivision. The architectural review of structures for an approved subdivision is not a project pursuant to CEQA guidelines. The property is located at Santa Fe Street and Central Avenue. APNs 062-020-005 and 019 and 027, and is zone plan development. The general plan designation for the site is low-density residential.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, the project consists of the architectural and site plan review of 58 single-family residences. There are current approvals. There was a general plan amendment done in 2014, a zoning ordinance amendment, tentative map number 2014-01, and an initial study and mitigated negative declaration were adopted for this project previously. Here's a sample of the vesting tentative map. You can see this is Santa Fe, and this is Central Avenue here.
Quick question on that. There is no road right there. That's a wall in this case, correct? That bottom section?
Right? It's going to be. That is the extension of Sierra.
Oh, it is.
And it actually goes as far as, I believe it's the mother cell pieces, and there will be an irrevocable easement or some sort of legal instrument provided by our city attorneys that will reserve this area, so eventually it will come through.
Okay.
Yeah, and this circle here is not in its ultimate location. It may be down here, but there will be a turnaround for this road until it reaches its ultimate destination to Claus. Here's an outline of the location, again, Santa Fe and Central Avenue. There's some out parcels here. Here's an aerial view of the site. It's this piece here with its out parcels. Now I'll go through briefly the elevations. There are 4 floor plans and they have 8 different color schemes. So I have a variety of elevations here for you. Here's the 629 plan with elevation A, B, and C. Here's the 1742 plan, elevation A, B, and C. The 1868 elevation A, B, and C. You might notice there are different roof lines. There's different materials and colors that are being used to add a lot of variety. Here's 1929 elevation A, B, and C. I did revise the resolution from the first time that you got it in your packets. In it, there was a requirement for an HOA, but that was removed because these are public streets and not private. Maintenance of walls, like the graffiti removal and enforcement of the cul-de-sac parking, can be addressed in the CCNRs, and also the affected owners in the cul-de-sac will receive disclosures. The cul-de-sac wasn't quite as wide as the fire department needed for some of their largest trucks. And so the cul-de-sacs, of which there are 2, and there are, I believe, 8 affected parcels, they will have rolled red curbs with no parking, so the fire department trucks can make their way around. In that area, too, the sidewalk area, there will be no hydrants, no signs. All that needs to be kept clear for safety purposes. So, and the buyers of those properties will be notified. It will be disclosed to them. As I mentioned earlier, the architectural and site plan review of the dwelling units is not a project pursuant to CEQA guidelines. The project was already analyzed at the map phase. And staff recommends that you approve the architectural and site plan review for Diamond Bar West for 58 single-family dwellings. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you.
Also, the applicant is here as well, in case you have questions for him, too.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, thoughts?
You said it was an HOA?
Homeowners Association, I thought there would be one. When we first had discussions, I understood it to be public street, or private streets. But since there'll be public streets, the city will take care of them, so we don't need the HOA.
That it doesn't fall under CEQA because it's not a project?
Correct. We're just looking at the design of the houses themselves, the footprint and the impacts of parking and any biological resources, any trees, hawks. That's all been analyzed in a previous CEQA document, a mitigated negative declaration. So when you already have an approved map and approved houses and you're just looking at the design of the houses, it's not really a project.
What does the other homes in the area look like?
Most of them that I recall from driving through and doing the site visit are similar to these as far as their single-story, single-family dwellings. Some of them have fairly large yards. These are smaller yards, but compared to some of the other subdivisions in our city, these are large yards.
What's the square footage of the property?
One,
because it looks like you got different phase or different elevations.
right, those the numbers on the elevations are actually the square
Footage,
footages
okay.
Minus they don't have included the patios and the garages, which I did put on a chart within your packets. That's why the numbers are there. They have a base square footage. So the houses range from just a little above 1,600 square feet to just below 2,000 square feet.
What's the average lot size?
I believe the average lot size was it's either 6,000 or 5,000. I should have taken a look at that before I came in here. I don't think I have the map in here. Mark, do you, 5,000? Thank you.
Average 5,000, thanks.
The lots? I know they're 5,000 square feet, but how does that break out?
I'm not sure I understand. Excuse me, I'm Mark Wilbur. I met a couple of you last time. In question, I'm not sure I understand your question.
They're
30 by 90
about
or?
50 by a,
We're on it, typically, unless it's a cul-de-sac or corner, 50 by 100. All single stories you've seen, and we've, due to the setback requirements, we obviously tried to use as much of the lot, get as much house on the lot as we could and still keep the, required backyard widths and side yard widths. So that's how we ended up really with those square footages.
and one positive thing about having single-story homes is that you can look to the future and age in place. The bedrooms are on the first floor, so as people age, they don't have to worry about stairs getting to their bedrooms. And so it's something that the city encourages is the aging in place.
Definitely, definitely. Any additional questions?
Yeah, so was there any citizen concerns or neighbor concerns about the construction or anything like that?
We had two neighbors speak at the last Planning Commission meeting, and I'm trying to recall what they spoke about.
About their driveways.
Right, that's correct. They're concerned about the driveways, and we've had our Public Works inspector out there looking at the driveways, the trees in the right-of-way that have to be moved, the big oak tree that needs to be protected at Central and Santa Fe. So we've been out there working to ensure that it's a good fit and that these neighbors are as impacted as little as possible.
And they're also concerned about hooking to sewer if they had to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They were concerned that they would be forced to hook to sewer and water, but that's not the case.
It's not the case.
No. When they do probably a project over $10,000, that's usually when things kick in like curb, gutter, and sidewalk. But fortunately, because this is a large project, Mr. Wilbur has taken care of that on both Central and Santa Fe. So once they do move forward, if they remodel or replace their home, they will be required then to hook up to city sewer and water.
I have a question, but it may be more appropriately addressed to you. A lot of the areas concerned are addressed by the CC&Rs, and I've been told that those only hold true with the original property owner, and that subsequent owners are no longer bound by that. Is that a true statement?
I've done this for 35 years, so I can give you a pretty authoritative answer. You're partially correct, in at least the CC&Rs are binding. I forget, they do expire. I think it's a 30-year expiration legally, according to California. But in reality, once the developer leaves, they're just about as good as the neighborhood. And if the neighborhood, if you have people that are proactive, want to keep it up, then they are enforceable. But it does require, if someone, we'll just say, is parking a motorhome in the front yard, they're not supposed to. If they just say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, the neighbors basically have to hire an attorney or file some type of legal action, which is very enforceable. And in fact, at the end of the day, the guy with the motorhome, for example, would be liable for any attorney fees incurred and so forth. People are, for obvious reasons, reluctant to do that. So whether it's us or somebody else, the tone of these subdivisions typically gets set during the development stage. Now, we, as a developer, have quite a bit of authority as far as enforcing them, at least until build out, because one is we want to sell houses, so we're going to hire an attorney if somebody's just thumbing their nose at us. And so the problems with them come in typically more downstream. They're not a homeowner association, which again can be good and bad because I've had those and they just turn into neighbor wars. You typically have 2 or 3 people who want to be policemen, and sometimes they're just completely over the top on enforcement. So I guess I could just say I've had neighborhoods that look just as good 10 years later, and I've had some that have just, not a lot, but some. I mean, we have one here in Riverbank we did back in the 90s, about 100 lots off of Townsend. Well, it's deteriorated. I mean, I drive through it. I'm just really sad to see it. When we left it, it was fine. There's nothing there. I don't know if it was a recession that brought it on, or I mean, but you see some of the homes are immaculate, well kept, and the other ones have 4 cars parked on the lawn. So, and if the neighbors wanted to get together and take action, they could. Those would still be enforceable, but for whatever reason, they have chose not to do so.
Okay, but the CC&Rs are not something that the city code enforcement officer would be able to enforce.
Actually, I was just going to mention that if you look at the resolution, the conditions of approval number 6, I did add that CC&R shall be submitted to the Community Development Director for staff and city attorney review and approval. They shall prohibit recreational vehicle parking in the driveways and mobile basketball hoops from the streets, sidewalks, and common areas. So this does give us a little bit extra teeth to be able to monitor that. Although we don't proactively go out and drive around and looking for these, if one of the neighbors were to complain about an RV parked in the driveway or a basketball hoop in the red curbed area, we would be able to use this to abate the situation.
Great.
I'd just like to add too, that a lot of those are already enforceable through code enforcement. So basketball hoops and RV parking.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
I know we were going to go to public, opening to the public, which we commented, and we'd like to continue on that note with the public opening. If we have additional comments, anybody would like to speak on behalf or against the project? Okay. Thank you. Any comments within us here?
Could go ahead and close the public hearing.
Oh, I'd like to close the public hearing now. Thank you. We're good? Okay. Can we get a motion in regards to this? Or
Okay, so I'm going to move for approval of resolution number 2016-011, approval of the architecture site plan review 01-2016 for Diamond Bar West, Santa Fe Street and Central Avenue.
get a second?
I'll second it.
Get a voting roll, please.
Chair Bill Padois,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKinney,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
That passes 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, Planning Commission, information only. We have no information there, nothing to talk about there. Item 5, county referral, correspondence information. Again, information only, no action there. Okay, and then item 6, upcoming events, upcoming meeting agenda items, information only again. We have item 6.1 and item 6.2.
Yes, we actually have the Diamond Bar West final subdivision map still moving forward. The applicants are working on the utilities and the streets to make sure everything's in order. And then item 6.2, I had talked last time about an RFP document going out for the comprehensive zoning code update, that it was under final review, and it actually went out last week to 9 different consultants. So they'll have a couple of weeks to respond, to contact staff and ask some questions. And then about the second or third week in May, I will be able to take this item to the City Council to see how they want to move forward on it, how we'll get the funding. So that's where we are with that project.
And item 7, new business. We have item 7.1 and item 7.2.
America's Tire is still moving forward. That's in Pad G. We've been working on a lot of businesses in Pad C, and the last business, Five Guys, just got their temporary occupancy permit. And so they'll be doing some training, and they hope to open on Monday, the 11th. So that whole building will be open and serving the public. And as I mentioned, we're still finishing up on America's Tire plans. And then Central Valley Autism had submitted plans to use the KinderCare building. And I believe... The permit has been issued on Okay, the permit was issued on that.
When did they vacant the property? Some time ago?
For a
Has it been
year.
while?
The whole time I've been here, they've been vacant.
I've been going on 2 years now.
That's on Crawford and, yeah.
In fact, the property owners there are looking at the vacant lots in front of it for some commercial retail pads. So more coming on that in the near future.
Speaking of, do we have any new applicants at the Crossroads Shopping Center or anything potential there?
Just the America Tire, which we're getting ready to issue their permit. Or we haven't,
Oh, May, for your upcoming May meeting, the only item we have so far is a CUP for Chipotle to serve beer and wine in a full-service restaurant. So that's the only item so far we have upcoming.
Okay.
That's May what?
May 19th or 17th?
17th?
17th.
Beer and wine, huh? Interesting.
Taco and a beer.
Yes. Okay, any additional comments, commissioners? No? Okay, I'd like to move to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Record time.
Right on time.